All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Bruce from the Epic Experiment. We're back, another week, another deck tech. This one is a goodie, but an oldie. I have talked about in the past how I was building each of the 5 protocons from Fate Reforged years ago. It was one of my first projects for playing Commander. And so I had built Dagatar, I built Alesha here as the so Alesha Smiles at Death as the Mardu commander from Fate Reforged, and I've kind of liked the suite of them here because they were essentially monocolored to play. So Alesha here is 2 and a red for a 3/2 with first strike. Whenever Alesha Smiles at Death attacks, you may pay a black or a white hybrid. Black or white hybrid. If you do, return target creature with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. And I liked that because it made it a Mardu commander. It was kind of neat, and I hadn't seen it before, so I thought I would try and build it. So Alesha became one of my favorite decks because it was very, very heavily based on grinding out my opponents. Now, for a long time, it sort of sat idle, didn't get a lot of updates, and so I recently gave it a bit of a facelift to go through. So I thought, now we just time to walk you guys all through it and talk about it. All right. So Alesha rewards us for attacking with her. So we have to get her to attack, and we have to get her to, and there have to be things that have 2 power or less in your graveyard that you want to pull back out of the yard. So there's a couple of ways I sort of thought about doing that. The first way is that you want to stock your yard in by literally just sacrificing things to your graveyard. So we've got a couple of sack outlets here. Sack outlets became a thing that I didn't have a lot of them, and I still don't think I want a lot of them, but there are a couple. So the first one, we have Westvale Abbey. So this is a land, so you can tap it to add a colorless. 5 and a tap, pay 1 life, put a 1/1 white, black, and white human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. And then 5 tap, sacrifice 5 creatures, transform Westvale Abbey, then untap it. It turns into Ormondal, a 9/7, and it's got way too many keywords. Alright, so it's an expensive sack outlet, but as a land, having spell-like abilities on lands is useful. It doesn't cost you slots, and you're unlikely to have it get killed. Alright? We have a Malevolent Awakening. So this is an old enchantment. So 1 black for an enchantment, 1 black, sacrifice a creature, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So this allows you to basically swap stuff from your battlefield, put something else from your graveyard back into your hand. So this gets things dead into your yard, gets other things back out of your yard into your hand. Kind of like it. Then I've got Butcher of the Horde. So 1 red, white, black for a 5/4 flying demon. Sacrifice another creature. Butcher of the Horde gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Haste until end of turn. So again, free sack outlet on a creature seems pretty good. So those were my ways that I was going to try and sacrifice creatures to get them into the graveyard. Now, that said, though, because you're in Mardu, you have a pretty robust way to get things into your graveyard because you're going to catch a lot of things up in sweepers. You have a lot of sweepers. So let's talk about what we've got. So we've got Dam. So Dam is black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated and has overload for 2 white. So this essentially can act like a targeted removal spell, but it can also act like a Wrath of God, making it good. And if you have other creatures on the board, then you can get them back with Alesha. Expel the Interlopers. So 3 white. Choose a number between 1 and 10. Destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen number. Well, with this, I could wipe my board if I want to. I could wipe your board because I leave you with only your value creatures. Because if I pick most of my creatures being 2 power, I could then use this, pick 3, and I keep my whole board, save for a few things, and you lose most of yours. So super good card in this deck, but it's flexible. I could get the whole table unequivocally. Chainsaw is not a board wipe, but it is a really good way to make use of creatures dying and going to your graveyard and coming back. Because every time a creature goes to your graveyard, it picks up a plus X plus O counter on it. So X is equal to the number of counters on it. So it also has the ability when it enters the battlefield to do 3 damage to up to 1 target. So it isn't hard for this to have 5 or 6 counters on it and be plus 6 plus O. We'll talk about why that's relevant in a bit, because there's some other pieces too. We have a Source to Plowshares, we have a Feed the Swarm, we have a Dismember, all useful cards. We have a Dusk to Dawn, so destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Again, you wipe your opponent's board, you probably don't lose yours. And then return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So if you lose a bunch of things, you can very quickly put them all back into your hand. We have an Abstruse Appropriation. Exile, so 2 white, black. Exile target non-land permanent. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend colorless mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. This is just, I think it's a pretty good removal spell. I'm looking to try and use it. We have a Flare of Malice. So it's 2 black for instant, or you may sacrifice a non-token black creature card rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Sounds great to me. Happy to do it. And then we also have a Withering Torment and a Vandal Blast. Just very useful ways to kill things dead. Okay, so that's our way. So we're probably going to get a bunch of our creatures into the graveyard just through natural attrition. But we have a few other little tricks that we can do too. First one might be an Unexpected Windfall. So draw 2 cards and so you have just no cash to cost the spell, discard a card, so you can discard a creature, draw 2, and create 2 treasures. Seems good. We have a few other draw effects. We've got Painful Truths and Read the Bones. All right, very simple, useful little things. Hardly an exciting package, but useful. All right, then we also have ourselves some other tricks over here that we can play. We've got a Dothy's Embrace. So 2 and a black for an enchantment. Black, target creature gains shadow until end of turn. This creature can block or can only be blocked by creatures with shadow. So the reason this is here is ostensibly to make sure that you can get Alesha through, but you could also make sure if you get a high value target out of your graveyard, when you tap to attack, you can give it shadow mid-combat so it can't be blocked. Crackdown. Non-white creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap step. So this is a bit of a non-bow with Alesha herself, but most of your creatures being 2 power things, this is a pretty good stacks piece to shut people down. And people are going to really be annoyed with it. And this old card, people are going to go, what the heck is that? Then we've got Hero's Blade. So this goes in the same batch as the Chainsaw. So this is an equipment that says, okay, for your creature has +3/+2, whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it. So both these cards, coupled with Alesha, make her very difficult to block. Because of her first strike, you're going to have a hard time blocking a 6/4 first striking Alesha or her wearing a chainsaw. This is really ideal just to allow her to punch through, and your opponent really's got to think twice about trying to block Alesha or kill it through combat. All right. Now, we have a few other big hitters over here that are sort of things that are in this deck. So we got a Strionic Resonator, Panharmonicon. So these are both cards that double end of the battlefield triggers. All these creatures down here that we're talking about in a second, all have got end of the battlefield triggers that you probably want to maximize. So having ways to double those is super good. All right, we have a Kolagon, Storm's Fury. So this is 5 black-red for a 4/5. Legendary creature dragon. Flying. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Sure, I don't really think that's what I play this card for. They play this for the dash ability. 3 black-red for a 4/5. And then at the end of combat, you have to return to your hand. This just means that you just have a 5-power beat stick that you just play over and over and over again. And it is 1-me games all on its own. It just sits there and does a thing. Now, we have Hoffrey Ghostforge. Hoffrey Ghostforge says, for 3 white-red for a 4/5, legendary creature, Dwarf Cleric. Spirits you control gets +1/+1 and have trample and haste. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except as a spirit in addition to its other types. And it has, when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to your graveyard. So, the way this works is that creature dies, Hoffrey sees it, makes a copy of, or a spirit token copy of it, and now you have that creature have a whole new end of the battlefield trigger that you can then utilize. This is really, really good. because you partner it with Alesha and you partner with Quintorius. So Quintorius says 3 red white for a 2/4 spirits you control get +1/+0. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white spirit token. So when they die with Hoffrey, they go. You make a spirit copy token of it. Quintorius checks and sees that the creature left your graveyard and makes you a spirit too. And then when that token copy or the spirit copy leaves, you get the other copy out of your graveyard, out of exile, back into your graveyard for Alesha to find it and attack again to go and pop it back out of the graveyard, in which Quintorius triggers all over again. So your creatures are flip-flopping back and forth from exile to graveyard to back to play and back. And it kind of makes for a neat cycle. Now, it is a 3-card cycle with 3 creatures and a pretty unique set of abilities if you can get them to work. They're fun. You're playing this because it's just a big old gas, and I wish you all the luck assembling it. I've only assembled it once, but it's not because it's not worth trying. It's certainly worth it. All right. We also have some other things down here that we want to play. We have a Flare of Duplication, a Land Tax, a Boros Charm, and a Lightning Greaves. The Greaves protects your Alesha. The Charm protects you from board wipes, ostensibly. Land Tax is a piece of ramp, and Flare of Duplication is a piece of protection. All right. Last but not least, we have our ramp package, which is small. We have a Sol Ring, a Sword of the Animist, so a piece of equipment you slap on Alesha that goes and finds lands, and a Talisman of Hierarchy, which is a black-white one, and then we have an Arcane Signet. So let's now talk about the meat and potatoes of this deck, and that's why you're all here. We want to talk about all these creatures that are down here that are targets for Alesha when you get to swing with her. All right, so let's have a talk. There's lots of good value in here that everyone's going to enjoy. All right, let's go through all these things. All right, so we have Liliana Spectre. So 1 black flying creature. Whenever Liliana Spectre enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, and it's a 2/1. So you get to put this into play. Bag a card from each of your opponents. It dies. You attack with Alesha. You get it back. You bag more cards. Everybody's pleased. Well, you're pleased. They're not. Okay, Gonti, Lord of Luxury. 2 black for a 2/3 legendary creature, Aetherborn Rogue with Death Touch. When Gonti, Lord of Luxury, enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of target opponent's library, exile one of them face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at it, you may cast it, and you may spend mana of any color as though it were mana of that type to cast it. Okay? So again, you play it, get a card off the top of their library, then it dies, you bring it back with Alesha, and repeat the process. Rinse, repeat. Stronic Resonator and Panharmonica make this go nuts. It's all good. Grenzo Havoc Razor. Red. Legendary creature, Goblin Rogue. It's a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose 1. Go target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So good, since you're going to be hopefully get Alesha through, you're going to be able to get that. Alesha, who laughs at fate, 1 black-red for a 2/2 with first strike, legendary creature, Human Warrior. Whenever Alesha attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. As raid, the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is just another way to help Alesha bring more things back out of your graveyard. Double Alesha seems fun. Pia and Kira Nalar, 2 red for a 2/2. A legendary creature, Human Artificer. When Pia and Kira Nalar enter the battlefield, create 2/1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield, and 2 in a red, sacrifice an artifact. Pia and Kira Nalar deal 2 damage to that target, to that creature or player. All right, so you've got making bodies, 3 bodies, 4 power. Angel of Invention, 3 white for a 2/1 angel with flying, vigilance, lifelink, and fabricate 2. So you could either have this come in with 2 +1/+1 counters, or it comes in with 2 servo tokens. All right, and other creatures you control get +1/+1. This is awesome because it reads like a 4/3, or it reads like 3 creatures, 3 bodies, which is terrific. But you can then target and bring it back out with Alesha. Sounds good to me. Irreverent Gremlin, 1 and a red for a 2/2 with menace. It's a gremlin. Whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. You do this only once each turn. So you can go and rummage. It seems pretty good. We've got a Ravenous Chupacabra. 2 black, 2/2 Beast Horror. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Okay. Just it's pretty clean. Skyclave Apparition. 1 white for a 2/2 Core Spirit. When Skyclave Apparition enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. When Skyclave Apparition leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates a XX blue illusion creature token where X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. So again, it's a removal spell on a creature, and if you get a Panharmonicon effect, you get to double it, and then you can bring it back to your graveyard. Felidar Guardian. When Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield, you may exile another target permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Okay, that's a nice blink effect, but it plays really well with this particular friend here, Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. So 2 red for a 2/2 with legendary creature Goblin Shaman. With haste, put a creature token into play that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. That creature token gains haste, sacrifice the end of turn. This is a 2-card infinite combo. And consequently, when you do that, you're going to be your parents are going to be annoyed. Your opponents are going to be annoyed with you. Gravedigger, 3 and a black for a 2/2. When Gravedigger enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it digs up one of your cards from your graveyard, puts it in your hand. Then when it dies, you can get it back with Alesha. When it enters the battlefield, you pull another thing out with it. Nothing really stays dead in this deck long, unless your opponent bags your graveyard. Grey Merchant of Asphodel, 2 black for a 2/4. When Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Again, same thing. You play it, eventually it dies, you go to your graveyard, you pull it back out, you're laughing. You're going to gain a whole bunch of life. Wispmare, 2 and a white for a 1/3 with flying. It's an elemental. When Wispmare enters the battlefield, destroy target enchantment. This card is fantastic because you can evoke it, and then it will die, and then so you killed their troublesome enchantment. It dies. You can then attack with Alesha, bring it back out of the yard, and kill another enchantment. It's perfect. Exactly what you want to do. Karmic Guide, 3 white for a 2/2. Angel Spirit. Flying, protection from black. Echo, 3 white. When Karmic Guide enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, if you don't pay the Echo cost, it dies. So it's fantastic. You play it, you get the effect, it dies, you attack with Alesha, you get it back, you do the thing. It's really, really good in this deck. It just sort of creates loops. We have Vile Smasher of the Fierce, so 1 red for a 2/3 legendary creature Goblin Berserker. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, choose an opponent at random. Vile Smasher of the Fierce deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to that player or planeswalker that player controls. Alright, just a good card, and if some things start dying. Hellspur Posse Boss, 2 red for 2/4. Other outlaws you control have haste. When Hellspur Posse Boss enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red mercenary creature tokens with tap target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Again, 4 mana, makes 3 bodies, so you have lots of chump fodder. Siege Gang Commander, 3 red for a 2/2. When Siege Gang Commander enters the battlefield, create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. And then 1 in a red, sacrifice a goblin. Siege Gang Commander deals 2 damage to any target. Okay, that seems pretty good to me. So that's 4 bodies for 5 mana. Selfless Spirit, 1 and a white for a 2/1 with flying. It's a spirit. Sacrifice Selfless Spirit. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So if your opponent goes to try and wipe your board, you can sacrifice Spirit. It goes to your graveyard. Alesha can get it back for you, or so can the Gravedigger, or so can all sorts of things. Bygone Bishop, 2 and a white for a 2/3 with flying. Whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, you investigate. So it's a little bit of a draw engine, just a useful card. Mardu the Hordemaster, 1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature Dwarf Berserker. Whenever you commit a crime, create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Sacrifice 3 treasures, create a 4/4 red Scorpion Dragon creature token with flying and haste. Activate only as a sorcery. So you're going to be killing lots of things, like Pia and Kira Nalar, Siege Gang Commander, the Ravenous Chupacabra, all your wipes, like your removal spells, A lot of them are targeted, and so you're going to make treasures with it, and then you can use the treasures to make dragons. Seems good to me. A Cursed Marauder, one and a black for a 2/1. Whenever a Cursed Marauder enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. So, edict effects on bodies that you can recur is exactly what you want to do. Sin Collector, 1 white black for a 2/1 human cleric. When Sin Collector enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose an instant or sorcery card from it and exile that card. So you're just going to bag cards from their hand, wreck their hand. Same as the Spectre. You're just going to go to work. Caustic Bronco, 1 and a black for a 2/2 snake horse mount. Whenever Caustic Bronco attacks, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's mana value if Caustic Bronco isn't saddled. Otherwise, each opponent loses that much life and saddle 3. So that's going to be okay. It's kind of like a Dark Confidant effect. Pia Nalar, 1 and a red for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create 1 colorless object token. 1 in a red, target artifact creature gets +1/+0. And then 1, sacrifice an artifact, target creature can't block this turn. We've got a Palace Jailer, 2 white for a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. When Palace Jailer enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until an opponent becomes the Monarch. So this, the Monarch is a great ability to put in the game. The fact you could exile something and reset something is good. You could, do all sorts of cool things with it. Solemn Simulacrum, this one's a classic sad robot, so you're going to spend 4 mana on a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you can find a basic card, put it into play. Tapped, when it dies, you draw a card. So you play it, you got a land, you kill it, you draw a card, you bring it back with Alesha, rinse and repeat. We have Priest of the Bloodright, 3 black for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 5/5 black demon creature, token with flying onto the battlefield. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life. So, you want this card, you want it to die. You want it to come back and make more demons, but you don't want this card in play because it deals damage to you. So, you're quite happy to sacrifice it or watch it die. And then Remorseful Cleric, 1 and a white, flying, sacrifice Remorseful Cleric, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. So, you just go bag your opponent's stuff and get it dead. Alright, so that's the deck. All right, the mana base is pretty cheap. It's usually it's a budget friendly list altogether. It roughly costs somewhere in the neighborhood of about $225 to assemble this, and you could do it for cheaper, I am sure. The mana base, again, pretty straightforward. Lots of basics, lots of top lands, because this is really a deck that's, I've played this at bracket 3. It doesn't really win very explosively, apart from that Kiki Jiki line, which, you've got to be able to assemble. There's no tutors in it, so I often play this at bracket 2. I have played it at bracket 3, and because of the removal, it tends to, sort of hold its own, but it's a very grindy way to play the game, and so it may not be quite your playstyle. It's a lot of fun, though. I really do recommend this sort of style of deck, because nothing stays dead, everything hops out of your yard, your opponents are frustrated with you, and you're going to have a lot of fun with it. All right, the list is down below. You check it out, and go and check out all of our other decks that I posted here on the channel. You can see them all there, and probably some others that I haven't done yet, so there's more to be found. All right, if you like what you hear, we're going to be soon getting back to doing some recording. Pete has been really busy doing law school, so we've been a little bit, out of sync of things, but we'll get there soon. Please like and subscribe. Help us get this channel to 100. We're hoping to get to 100 by the end of 2025. We're not quite at 70. We'd love to have some more people jump on board and help us out in the Epic Experiment. Be a huge help. All right. So that is Alesha, Who Smiles at Death. Great deck. Tons of fun to play. Particularly if you like to grind and get busy, sort of grinding away at your opponents to get them dead. All right? All right, that's all from me. That's it. Have yourselves a good one. We'll talk to you later. Peace.